Good afternoon, Rio Vista. This last Saturday, I had the honor of speaking at Rio Vista's successful Lunar New Year celebration, which you've already heard about. There are well over 300 people at the downtown pole barn. Afterward, I met with Congressman Garamendi to discuss a range of topics, from the delay in the Highway 12 rehabilitation project to cleaning up and clearing our former Army base for future development, which we estimate to cost roughly $1.9 million. This past Wednesday, I had the pleasure of meeting with PG&E Regional Vice President Joe Wilson, along with a large team of PG&E staff and executives working on a major reconductoring project for Rio Vista. I recognize that our unstable power supply has continued to be a challenge, but I can assure you that Mr. Wilson has been a strong champion for our community, using his political capital to escalate this project. Brian Swanson, Clay Merrill, and the rest of the PG&E team, along with our own city staff, were instrumental in gaining traction on this. Now on to action items. With regards to downtown parking, we will begin enforcing our 2-hour parking policy after sending one final notice to affected businesses. Economic development, as you know, is a top priority of mine, and I strive to propose policies that offer alternatives rather than to simply penalize business owners. I suggested that business owners who need extended parking have the option to purchase a monthly placard for $200 or possibly more. While I acknowledge that few would take advantage of this option, at that price point, it provides an alternative to a strictly punitive approach. Notably, the auto repair shop would be the most affected by this policy, and I was hoping this would be a workable solution. I was in the minority on this one. Enforcement will begin following a 30-day public notice. On council compensation, though I do not expect it to be controversial, this item generated the most discussion. It was originally brought forward to address recognized barriers to participation in city government, particularly for those residents who are not retired, work hourly jobs with limited flexibility, or simply cannot afford the time that serving on the council requires. While serving the community is inherently rewarding, those who are able to participate are generally those with the financial means and flexibility to do so. During this past election cycle, several prospective candidates began the process and withdrew once they understood the costs and potential opportunity costs involved. I believe public service should be open to a diverse cross-section of our community, not limited to those with financial means alone. The idea that anyone would run for council solely to receive a $750 monthly stipend is simply not realistic, and if that were someone's motivation, it would become very evident during the election process. I recognize that some decisions made on the dais may carry negative optics, but that should never prevent us from making the right call. I make decisions based on what is best for our community as a whole. Councilmember Stanish, Donnelly, and I voted to approve for a modest increase from $535 to $750 per month, with a 3% annual adjustment over a 5-year period. This does not take effect until January 2027. An individual council member may always choose to decline payment. For what it's worth, I personally donate far more than my stipend back into our community each year. A representative council makes us all stronger. On food trucks and mobile food vendors, we reviewed an ordinance submitted by our Planning Commission. While this item has come before us several times, some language needed to be tightened up, and we also sought input on potentially limiting vendors to designated areas. My primary concern remains ensuring that food trucks do not have an unfair competitive advantage over our brick and mortar businesses, given that they are not subject to the same standards. Several definitions were clarified, and the ordinance will return for a second reading. Finally, a cannabis business requested a modification to their development agreement to align it with a recently updated agreement for another operator that had changed ownership. As businesses change hands, it's important that they continue to operate safely and legally. The updated language addresses my concerns, and I believe it is sufficient. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all soon.